Hi there! Welcome to episode 126 of the WaveBack Music Podcast. My name is Kris.
And I'm Matt.
And we're here to listen to the most interesting video game music there is. What happens when you get a puzzle game full of adorable green-haired creatures who explode when you tell them to? You get a PC puzzle classic. And as with many PC classics of its time, this one was ported just about everywhere. And with classic ports come, you guessed it, fascinating remix of awesome songs. Don't walk off a cliff, because tonight we listen to the music of Lemmings for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Good, Kris. How are you?
I am great, actually. I'm in a rare situation where I have the house to myself.
What?
Yes, the kids are on spring break. My wife is on vacation, and I have neither of those things, so I have to stay home and work. So she went to take the kids off an adventure at her mom's house, and I have been home alone working all day. It's been pretty nice.
I can only imagine that the silence is wonderful.
It's really something else, although there's been very little actual silence because I've been playing lots of loud music. Because are you familiar with Perry Grip?
Perry Grip, no.
So it's this YouTube musician, Perry Grip. If you ever heard like Hamster on a Piano.
Hamster on a piano. Hamster on a piano. Hamster on a piano. Eating popcorn on a piano. Hamster.
Eons ago. That's Perry Grip, and he makes these songs all the time. They're incredibly catchy, and they're super fun, but they get stuck in my head. And he started releasing a whole bunch of tracks lately, like a whole bunch of tracks. My kids have been listening to it nonstop. So in order to try and force Perry Grip out of my head, I've been playing lots of loud music whenever I get the chance. Which has been good because I've been doing lots of work building shelves and stuff. But I'm as soon as this any music stops, it's back onto I want a hamburger.
I want a hamburger. I want a hamburger.
Or backpack full of burritos.
Backpack full of burritos. Backpack full of burritos.
Or square bottomed cat.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm very happy to be listening to Lemmings music tonight. Because it's nice and chill, and it's very infectious, and it will put my mind at ease and hopefully knock out the rest of this Perry Grip for the next day or so until the kids get home and inevitably blast it in all rooms of the house at all times. How are you, Matt?
I'm not nearly as interesting as you, apparently. I'm alright. Can't complain too much. Yeah, not a whole heck of a lot going on. I'm finally, they put Octopath Traveler on Xbox Game Pass, so I'm finally getting to play that. And, it's gotten some fairly mixed reviews. I'm enjoying it, but I definitely see its flaws. But nonetheless, I'm enjoying it. And that's kind of about it. My world is very boring.
Nice. Yeah, you know what? I should be using this time to be playing video games. But honestly, I spent a lot of the day building more shelves for more video games. So I've been playing with video games instead of playing video games.
That's one way of going about it, I suppose.
Yeah. And then after the show tonight, I'll probably continue reading the Metroid manga that I finally tracked down. So
Ooh.
I'm doing a lot of video game adjacent things, but not nearly enough actually playing. But that's not what we're here for tonight. We're here to listen to a game soundtrack that I have wanted to do on this show for a long time, and I say that pretty much every episode because when I started this podcast, I thought about 450 games that I wanted to do, and so
of course
we've been at this for a long time, and therefore by virtue of the passage of time, I've wanted to do pretty much everything for a long time. But this one's very special and near and dear to my heart, so let's get to work, huh, Matt?
Yes, sir.
Hit us with some history.
Lemmings was released for the Amiga home computer in February of 1991. It's a puzzle game where you have to assign jobs to adorable little critters to safely get them from point A to point B. The hitch is, if you don't help them, they'll just keep walking forward no matter what. That includes walking into flamethrowers, acid pits, off cliffs, and much more. In the process, many lemmings may die, some by exploding into hundreds of little bits all over the place, but it's all in good fun, and even if it does sound a little bit grim. The game was a pretty big success, and as such, was ported to many, many other platforms over the years. One of those was the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Handled by Sunsoft, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System port was actually one of, if not the first home console ports of the game, and featured the same impressive graphics and animation the previous PC versions were known for.
It also featured brand new versions of the game's memorable soundtrack. The original tunes were written and arranged by Brian Johnson and Tim Wright. Many of the tracks are fun versions of classical tunes and like nursery rhyme type stuff, but there were also several wonderfully memorable originals, which will be making up the bulk of tonight's playlist. Brian Johnson also worked on several other Lemmings sequels like Lemmings 2, Tribes, and Oh No More Lemmings, while Tim Wright had a much more extensive video game career, including games like Mickey Mania and Wipeout XL. The Super NES versions of the music were handled by Tomomi Hatakeyama, whose name I totally butchered, and also whose only other credit I could find was for a game called Mahjong Goku Tenjiku. So, weird. Especially considering the quality of what we're about to listen to. It's strange that this person did not do more work in the video game space. But anyway, Matt, what is your personal history with Lemmings, or of any flavor, not just Super Nintendo?
Honestly, I don't have much. I'm very, very, very familiar with with the game Lemmings, the premise, everything about it. I've just never sat down and played it. I have a few friends that more recently just kind of, pulled it out and dusted it off and started playing it. And we're like, oh my god, man, I used to love this game. It's been hours playing it. And the whole time I'm just like, that's just one of those games that, like, I've been around and I've just never played it. For, whatever reason or other, I just never played it. But I've seen enough of it. It's always struck me as, like, a really funny game. The animations are always great. Like, I was talking up front about walking into flamethrowers and all kinds of things. Like, that's just fun. Like, cartoon violence, let's be honest here, is fun. Don't condone real violence, but, cartoon violence it's okay in my book.
Word. I heartily agree. Cartoon violence is one of the best things in the world. Well, let's see. My first experience with Lemmings was indeed the Super NES version. I had never really heard of this game before, and I think it was rented. I think was the first time we had seen it. We took it home, and I remember I'd never seen anything in a game animate quite as well as the little lemmings themselves, because they moved. Even though they were these really teeny, tiny sprites with almost no animation, they looked almost like I don't know, I had never seen anything move that smoothly before. They looked very well animated, and every single job that they did looked so cool. You did that, especially the builders, when they just get a little backpack and they'd build this little bridge going upward on an angle, and then when they ran out of boards, they would look at the screen, shrug their shoulders, and then start walking again. There was such a character to it, and then of course, when you blew everybody up, and they go, "Oh no!" and then they pop into a million pieces. My parents in particular thought that was hysterical. I was like, "Mom and Dad, you got to see this," and I showed it to them, and they just started laughing. Because we all have grim sense of humor in this house.
Gallows humor, I prefer.
But one thing in particular about this game that sticks with me was that it was rented. I'm 90% sure it was rented in the summer. Either that, or I finally bought it in the summer, because the music of this game is another one of those types of situations that has always put me at an extraordinary level of ease, because it fills me with this very specific nostalgic feeling of sitting in my old bedroom with the window open on a summer day and hearing this music in conjunction with just the feeling of like a warm summer breeze and sun shining into my room and me playing this music. It's seriously is really one of my absolute all-time favorite soundtracks, and not just because of the original stuff, which is, like I said, a lot of what we'll be listening to, but also just because it had these really great covers of these. I mean, the first track we're going to listen to is the Can, for crying out loud. And it's such a fun little version of it. It really sets the stage for what you're about to get into. So without further ado, let's get to work, huh?
Yeah.
So the first track is called Can, and that's because it's the Can.
And if you don't know what that is, you'll know in a second.
You certainly will. So let's go ahead and give it a listen. Here is Can from specifically the Super NES version of Lemmings. Enjoy. So imagine, if you will, you are a young game player. You had just brought home a game called Lemmings that you know nothing about. And it's got a cute little intro. You start up the game and you hear a little voice say, "Let's go!" And the doors open up, and then the Can starts playing.
And that version of it, too.
Right? It's not only, I mean, this song is kind of inherently silly, especially if you grew up in an area where there was a ShopRite, and it just makes you think
I was going to make a ShopRite joke, too. Yeah.
Makes you think of dancing cans, but...
Yeah, with women's legs. It's
Yep.
so weird.
It was very strange.
That was an awkward adolescence. I don't want to talk about it anyway.
For canned corn, for some reason. It was very strange.
I mean... Anyway. Shut up.
Yeah, I love this version of this song, and it's so emblematic of what they did with, like She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain or whatever little song they came up with. They always had this very high energy, goofy version of it to accompany this bright, colorful, weirdly morbid game.
I'm watching some footage while we... Excuse me, with the hiccups. I'm watching some footage while we talk about this, and yeah, it's just the music really. If you've never played this game before, like I haven't, the music really goes with the game, and it's perfect. It's really just perfect.
It definitely is, and what else I love about the tracks we're going to listen to is that a lot of it, like that was a pretty high energy, goofy, like let's get started kind of a thing. But most of the music in this game is actually very chill, and I love that about it because it is it's as silly as it is. This is a puzzle game, and it's one of those puzzle games. It's like it's not a falling block puzzle game, but it's where all the pieces are in motion, and you really need to like keep several plates spinning at a time, and just kind of like really pay attention to what's going on. So anyway, got anything else to add before we move on?
I have to say though, the bass portion of that song was definitely a nice character to it, nice timbre, if you will.
Right, yeah.
I'm a fan of that. Not much. I personally, I think the Can song is, I think, as you said already, inherently silly, and not just because we've been conditioned to think of animated dancing cans with women's legs and high heels, but again, that's a me problem, not a you problem. But I think the song itself is a little inherently silly. So I don't have much to say about it per se. So
I do also want to point out that I love the instrument choices. This game has a really, really cool set of instruments, again, that just fill me with nostalgic joy and feelings of peace, but they are capable of being very goofy, and as you will hear in the next song, they're capable of being quite beautiful. The next track is known by many names. It is often referred to as this game's take on Pachelbel's Canon, which is... It's an interesting take on it. I mean, it follows that same basic chord progression, but it has a very different lead melody, which is why I never made the connection of it being considered a Pachelbel's Canon before. But either way, this is one of my absolute favorites in this game. It's top 3 at least. This is just a wonderful song. So let's go ahead and listen to it. Here is Pachelbel's Canon from Lemmings for Super NES. Enjoy. So I love basically everything about that. I'm such a big fan of, when music starts simple and then adds a thing, and then that thing plays with the other thing, and then it brings back the other thing. Add in the fact that it's just such a beautiful melody to begin with, and it's the way it plays with stereo is so cool. I just love it. I love it so much. It seems like it sings, and it's beautiful and wonderful. I love it.
Let's see. What I dug about it the most was that they gave it some reverb to give it some space, and let it kind of exist in, the 3D audio sphere, if you want to call it. And that was pretty cool because, again, some games were doing it, some weren't. So it's very impressive to see, like, where that pops up. And, thinking about the game and how levels are designed, and we said before just how small the Lemmings are, and then you look at the stage designs and they're big, everything's huge. So it's kind of nifty to think that maybe there was a conscious choice to say, like, well, these levels, these worlds that these Lemmings are in are big, let's do something with it. And if it wasn't, it definitely helps to kind of sell the game, sell the imagery. Very interesting song. I don't know that I've ever heard the original, or it's not, or what we just listened to doesn't conjure the original. I mean, you said it yourself that it's got a different lead, so that's why you never put two and two together. So
yeah, it
I'm
follows the
just
same
something.
basic bass chord progression, but no, it's typically played at weddings. You've probably heard Pachelbel's Canon before. You just don't know that's what it's called. That's a fair observation. Yeah, it's a pretty common song. And like I said, it never connected to me that's what this was based on. And not knowing the composer, I can't say for certain that it is. I just know that it's what the track has been called by people over the years, and that's what it's called in my playlist. So that's what we went with. But either way,
that's what we're calling it. Yeah, right.
I just love the darn thing. So
now you said that we joked and we talked earlier about some prior to recording, but is the rest of the soundtrack kind of in that vein? Is that more to come?
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. It's kind of it's a very diverse soundtrack, but also very not. Like, okay, the tone. The overall tone is always going to be lighthearted, but it's definitely the style of music is going to go all over the place. I believe the next track is going to be very similar in style and tone, though, and it's also another very, very, very beautiful piece, which is here named after the first stage that it appears in, which is "Smile If You Love Lemmings." And and I do, which is why I'm smiling right now. This is such a great song too, and this is the first stage where I had to blow up Lemmings. So it's a very pretty piece of music where you have to use blockers and then blow them up. So here is "Smile If You Love Lemmings." Enjoy. is Smile If You Love Lemmings. And can we just talk about how awesome the sound of the drums is? Like, the bass drum in particular has a really, really good thump to it. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, I'm impressed by, like, I don't want to, well, I should say, when I make the next statement, I'm not trying to undercut or downplay any of this. I'm very impressed at, like, how simple kind of everything sounds, but how well it comes together.
Yeah, this is a very good example of a soundtrack that is based solely around the less is more philosophy. It doesn't do a whole lot of crazy stuff, but it does what it does very well. It focuses all of its energy on just being the best it can at doing what it is doing.
Right. Yeah. And so far everything has been fairly, simple. But again, like, to reiterate, it comes together pretty daggone well.
And for it is all of its all of the simplicity of the main melodies of the stuff that we're listening to. One of the things that I also like about it are there's usually only one extra layer of something that's just a bit more complex to just kind of really pull it together. Like this one had that, it has this little secondary melody that tends to like really kind of dance around what's going on in the background there. And without that, which I've heard in other versions of this song, like on the NES version or whatever, where the instruments are so much more simple, the song takes a real hit. This is another interesting thing, and I don't think it's just because this is the first version that I heard, but as the years went on, I always listen to any version of the Lemmings soundtrack that I can get my hands on, and from the original Amiga versions or Game Boy, NES, Sega Genesis, the songs take on very different tempos, which I find very strange. And this particular one, the Super Nintendo one that Tomomi Hatakeyama did, again, a blanket apology, was such an incredibly thoughtful take on what the original how the original songs were written. And having gone back and listened to all the other versions of the Lemmings soundtrack, it never ceases to amaze me just how I think this one comes together as just the best sounding one, without really adding anything new. It's just taking, like, there's one part of a song that would be really loud and brought to the front, and then another really great melody in the background, and he would swap stuff like that. Like, no, this should be where the focal point of the song is. And when you mix all that stuff up, it's a really, really thoughtful remixes, and I appreciate that very much about this soundtrack.
All right. Well, I'm going to take your word for it.
Please do.
I'm here doing that.
All right. So the next track is known as One Way or Another, and it's more Lemmings music. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's great. Let's give it a listen. Here's One Way or Another. Enjoy. was One Way or Another. Matt, what are your feelings on that one?
I won't lie. I was kind of hoping for a Blondie cover, but but that was actually really cool. It did, oddly enough, it reminded me of that era of music, the like post-punk, synthesizer driven music, because that bass line, that's really cool, actually. Again, another song that, or I should say another piece of music that, instrumentation is very simple. It's not very flashy, but it comes together really, really well. The lead was pretty cool in it. Again, I hear a little reverb in there, which I'm a big fan of. I like space, so that's cool. I like it.
I like there's a bunch of really cool subtle things that happen in the background of this song that you'll totally miss if you're not really listening closely. Like there's a conga going on in the background for some of it that just kind of comes in for a couple of hits here and there. And then there's just the it's an effect that they'll use a couple more times throughout the soundtrack. The kind of like the way this kind of bass drones slowly like fades in. That kind of effect is used a couple of times throughout the soundtrack, and it's always really, really effective when it comes through. And I really like it here too. I also like that this is a more upbeat and menacing is not the right word, but it's not as overtly happy as the other stuff we've listened to so far. I like it.
Obviously.
All right, so let's keep going with another one of my absolute favorites, and this is a song that Banjo Guy Ollie has covered. I will always call him out when available. But this is such a good track. It's another hopelessly happy tune. But what are you gonna do? This is I picked this soundtrack for a reason. It's totally me. So this is Lend a Helping Hand, aka Pugs in Space. This is a flippin' delight of a track. So turn it up and enjoy some good happy music. Here you go. I love that song, and I love its bass line. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a really, really good bass line. I just love this song so much. Oh, boy.
It's another one that has like a driving pulse to it, but not in a way that's intrusive or overbearing, where it's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It's just like, just gotta keep going forward. Like, I imagine like Jazzercise or something. Like, you know, those people that exaggerate their power walking, and they're power walking in place because they're waiting for the light. That's what I see in my head. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
But it's another good one. I mean, like, so far everything is it's just been pleasant. It's just pleasant music.
Yes, this is a very pleasant. That is the right word for this soundtrack. Is pleasant.
Yeah.
It is well put together, and that song in particular is just so joyous, and it's got it hits just all the right tones. That kind of, again, with the little hummy sound happening in the background. I really don't know how to describe it. It's one of those most perfect things that always puts my mind at ease when I listen to it. It's a delightful song.
Yeah, it's pleasant music to walk off a cliff to.
Yes. All right. So speaking of walking off a cliff, the next song is called "Mind the Step." This is another one of the. I say this is a little bit more in line with One Way or Another. It's a little bit one of the more intense songs that we'll listen to, and it's a pretty cool tune. So let's give it a listen. Here's "Mind the Step." Enjoy. Matt, I would love to hear your thoughts on that song.
So, no, I the pregnant pause was for no reason. It's another one, like you said, that's like one way or another, in that it has that driving pace too. Is really cool. I liked it a lot, actually. I like it. It's funny because I'm listening to it and I'm thinking to myself, like, what would a modern day cover of this sound like? And my mind immediately goes to like a rock band cover of it, and I'm like, I can totally hear like a guitar playing that, you know, and scary enough, it almost kind of, when I hummed it right there, it kind of sounded like a Doom soundtrack, which is like, whoa, wait a second. But nonetheless, it's cool. It's definitely very... I'm searching for the right word and I can't quite get it, but I'll dance around it for a while. Again, going back to what I said before, it's a very pleasant track. Watching the game as we listen to this stuff, it lands right in that like 1990s, early 90s like video game time capsule. It makes me think of like a couple other games that came out at that time that kind of have the same tone of soundtrack. And so, like, for me, it's, you know, I'm like, yeah, that's very much that time period. But again, another good composition, a lot of fun, very chill, even though it has that driving melody. I dig it.
Yeah, I like that part where it kind of like pulls everything back and it just goes like it was. I really like that little chunk added on there.
You get a bit of dynamic, which is always fun because, again, like, how long are you going to be playing this level? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to have to suffer through a short loop for a long time? Like, ugh.
Yeah, and a lot of these levels can last a very long time because you got to you know, wait for them to walk from point A to point B. So the fact that they are as dynamic as they are and pleasant as they are is nice. I really like the intensity of this one, and I liked how it changes things up. I think it's probably the most complex one we've listened to so far, just as far as like having different, you know, chunks going on there, different parts to the song that all fit together nicely. But hey, it's a good one.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. Definitely agree with you.
Cool. Well, let's keep going. The next one is called Rainbow Islands, and it is well, it's another one of those really nice songs. This is a very chill tune. This is one of the songs that I like to put on when I'm trying to sleep at night. This is a gorgeous song. So try and stay awake and enjoy the pleasantness that is Rainbow Islands. Enjoy. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about with the whole slow fade-in thing, and it sounds like a clarinet or an oboe or something. That sound that just kind of washes over the rest of the song towards the end of the loop there. It's so pretty. I love this one.
This was a really good one, actually. You were talking about how counter melodies exist in this, soundtrack, and so we get a bunch of that because I feel like there's like at least 2, if not 3 counter melodies playing, and when it all comes together, it's like whoa. You get the dynamic of that where it builds on itself. Some stuff strips away, and you get one piece, on its own and stuff. Yeah, these tracks are just they're at the very least they're very interesting. Like you told me this stuff was very chill, so I think I had a different expectation of it. I'm not at all let down by any stretch of the imagination. I just feel like this is all very, very, very interesting. I almost wanted to say fascinating, but this is very interesting. A very interesting soundtrack for, again, a very interesting game.
I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. I find it relentlessly interesting, and that track in particular has just always been such a God. I feel so very specifically the nostalgia from playing this game around that level and hearing that music and just pausing the game to listen to the music for a while and just relax. It's so nice. It's such a pretty piece of music. I love it.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree there.
So the next one's kind of a cool one. This one's called Postcard from Lemmingland, and I like this one because it starts off kind of goofy, and then it gets to this really, really cool and interesting part where it plays with a scale, where it just keeps going higher and higher and higher, and then looping back around to the main melody. This is a neat song, and this is also one where one of the PC versions of the song puts a lot of the energy on this part that's kind of lower in the background in this one. And this swaps it around, and I think in a much, much more beautiful fashion. This is a really cool song. So here is Postcard from Lemmingland. Enjoy. Postcard from Lemmingland. I get this very specific baseball stadium feel from the organ that's playing the beginning part, you know? And then it just kind of transitions into that really pretty part with the scale where it keeps going higher and higher. I don't know what it is about that just really gets me, but it's another really good one. What did you think?
The pipe organ definitely gives the baseball feels, you know, but in a good way, not, you know, how dare they or whatever. There's something. How dare you sully the great name of a pipe organ in baseball? Great American pastime with your Lemmings game. No, don't listen to me. Which is kind of the complete antithesis. I'm getting sleepy of this podcast. Anyway, one of the things that was kind of circling the drain in my head about the bass portion was it sounded like something, and it finally clicked. It sounds like a harpsichord. It sounds like the lower register of a harpsichord, not so much a bass or like a bass guitar, but again, not in a bad way. It's very interesting, like a very interesting choice. You know what I mean? It complements what it's going up against really well. There's a level of cohesion that comes with it. It's fantastic. These are really interesting songs. Not a bad one yet, honestly.
I'm glad to hear that. Now, this next one here is going to bring us back to. I don't know what else to say about Postcard. I feel like I was like, I'm moving on. I'm like, I should say more about Postcard from Lemmingland because I love that song. It's but I really said everything I needed to. I love the part where it goes up and just kind of loops back around. It's just a delight.
I thought you were going to say this next song is gonna not. This is gonna be a bad one.
Yes, this next song is awful. No, we're gonna loop back around to some covers. I wanted to try to stick with mostly original pieces on this, just because you can cover the can, whatever. This one's hilarious. it's the itsy bitsy spider, and then it kind of travels all over the place to a couple of different tunes. I think you're going to get a real kick out of this one. So this one's called 10 Green Bottles. Enjoy. Well, what'd you think?
So about 15 to 20 years ago, during Memorial Day weekend, I got sick and I had a fever and I was stuck in bed. Now, Memorial Day weekend is, usually very warm weather and it's very nice. The highlight of that weekend, not me being sick, was there was a Warner Brothers cartoon marathon, so I got to see some of the old stuff, right? Now, that song that just played, and I'll tie it all together, I promise, reminds me of what I feel like I was going through, because I left the television on and I was in and out of sleep, and it's just this weird fever dream of all these different songs. And like, what the hell just happened? What made them say, like, okay, Itsy Bitsy Spider into the funeral march into Here Comes the Bride, and you know what? Let's just start from the beginning again. Like, what? Are you guys? Is everyone feeling okay over there? Do we need to take your temperatures? Because it really felt... I mean, I like it because it's just... It's gone so far left it's right. You know what I mean? It's just like, what just happened? That was weird. That was very weird. Yeah. I don't know.
Taking out the complete insanity of the funeral march and Here Comes the Bride, though, I just love that take on Itsy Bitsy Spider. It's so jazzy. Like, the saxophone, it's got such a cool tone to it. Whenever I think of that song, because I have kids, I've sung Itsy Bitsy Spider to them.
Of course.
I always sing it, like, to that rhythm. That's how it goes in my head now. It's just so cool.
It's been erased and reprogrammed.
It was, I distinctly remember getting to this stage and not thinking anything of the Itsy Bitsy Spider because, you had heard other songs like that up to this point, right? Mm-hmm. Throughout the course of the soundtrack. But then it just, like, went right off the cliff there. And in such a weird way. And I think, if I remember correctly, this stage was, it's like in this fire cave where there's lava all over the place and the word paradise and an arrow next to it written in what looks like blood or something. It's like...
yeah, right. Very like, wait, what?
This is a really, really strange stage with wonderfully strange music to go along with it. And
absolutely.
Love it. Well, that brings us to our last track. Now, this is an interesting one. And I'm glad we're ending on this one because... So we've listened to probably a little bit more than half of this game's soundtrack on the episode tonight. There's a whole bunch of other tracks that you'll probably be hearing in the background while you're listening to us talk or whatever. But there's a bunch of music in this game, and I tried to avoid covers. I've already been down that road, but you hear the first bunch of songs over and over again. The first 30, 40 levels or whatever is mostly just these same songs that loop, and that's fine. It all works. But every now and then, way late into the game, you'll get thrown a curveball of like, oh, here's a new song, and I didn't see that coming. So I'm not going to tell you anything about this next song because, it came as a real surprise to me when it showed up in the game, and I'm very curious what you will think. This next track is called Menace. Enjoy. So yeah, that's a that's a pretty different tone shift for the soundtrack.
Huh. That Huh.
That
so
song
unexpected.
surprised the heck out of me when I was playing this game, because I'm telling you, this is not to like, at least I gotta imagine it's not to like level 50 or something. Like, I had been at it for a while before this song just, let's go, like what like, it's not even like this tone, but that instrument had never been heard before in this song. And like, say what you will about the quality of the distorted guitar that they used. It's definitely not the best sounding electric guitar I've ever heard. It's not the Sega Genesis fart sound, obviously,
but it's also not the worst.
Yeah, it's also not the worst. It's I really want to hear someone actually like cover this song because I love the tune. It's really, really cool tune. I really like this one.
I'd be interested to hear that. That'd be a very it'd be something I'd be very into. Right, yeah, this came out of left field for me. I thought I had like this game figured out. Like, all right, yeah, I see it. No. Very interesting. There's a lot like a great portion of the stuff we've already listened to, and I'm sure some of the stuff that we haven't that isn't a cover. There's a lot going on, and it's surprising. You know, this one has some level of dynamic to it. There's, you know, some alternating melodies and things like that. Not as much as some of the other tracks, but still, nonetheless, just as good. Again, I was not expecting this, so I think the fact that it was a pleasant surprise makes it, like, I'd say, edge out some of the other tracks for maybe my favorite of the night. This is surprising is all I can say, really. But you know, not and not because I can't think of anything to say. I don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to overtalk it. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to sell ice to an Eskimo. You know, it's a good tune. It's well written, simple yet complex. Like, yeah, it's all there, man.
Yeah, it's I love it. I love it. I don't know what else to say about it either. It's really surprising, and it's fun. It makes me happy that it works as well that it does, because, you know, this is a different genre than the rest of the soundtrack, but it's also very distinctly still Lemmings. Like, it still has that one instrument in there that's the cute little noise going on. It's
right. Yeah, that part caught me way off guard,
it still somehow manages to be adorable, even in this creepy stage that's like all like bloody and bones and stuff. It's so weird, man. It's so weird.
Yeah.
But I love it, just as I love this whole stinking game. Well, yeah, I think that just about wraps it up for old Lemmings here, old Mr. Lem. Yeah, man. Final thoughts?
Again, after watching the videos to kind of refresh myself and listen to the soundtrack, I'm kind of bummed that I think I missed out on this one. I don't know that I could go back and play it because I think I don't know if it aged well enough, or
this is a very simple concept. That's whenever they port this to newer platforms, they don't change anything because you don't need to. It's like Tetris. It's not broken. So there's nothing to age here. This is absolutely as playable today as it was back then. As much as I adore the Super NES version, play this. Just play it on your computer, because this game needs a mouse.
I see that. I definitely see the control system. I would imagine that playing with an actual, handheld controller is kind of got to be a pain. But
it's not terrible, but it works so much better with a mouse.
It's not its intended purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, and you play it now. The Super Nintendo version does get bogged down with a bit of slowdown when you nuke the entire stage and hundreds of lemmings explode. So it's like go to like the Internet Archive and play the PC version right in your browser. It's free, and it's a really good time. It's a very clever game, and you wind up having to think about it in ways that you wouldn't necessarily think you would have to.
Right.
It does a great job of training you. Like the first handful of stages are just use this. Here's this one job, and you have this job, assign it to your lemmings, and get to the end, and that's all well and good. And then they start limiting the number of jobs that you have. Like, well, you can get from point A to point B, but you only have this many builders. And if you mess up, then you got to nuke the level and start over again. And when I say nuke the level, there's a nuke button that you hit that blows up every lemming on the screen.
That's so fun.
So you then start over again. It's really something. Yeah, I love this, and I'm glad we spent the evening listening to it.
There you go.
And that's our show. Thanks for joining us. Just come by next time when it will be Matt's last pick before we dive into the anniversary episodes for pretty much the rest of the year. Matt, what did you land on for our next episode?
It's funny. I totally forgot. We talked about it not much more. Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. So I picked something that I think is iconic in its own right. It's certainly a game that soundtrack really, I think, stands apart from a lot of everything else. It's certainly its contemporaries and certainly its peers. I picked Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah.
Because why the hell not?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a very fun episode. I think the music's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of just a lot of fun with it. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, no question. So prepare yourself for an episode full of lyrics, because that's not something you get on this show very often. But
Right.
There's a lot of that in Parappa the Rapper. And I love this pick. I'm so excited. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
All right, we here at the WaveBack Podcast are incredibly grateful to everyone who listens, and we love communicating with you when we can. We have a couple of ways you can do that. There's the Geekade Discord channel, in which we have a WaveBack chat where we frequently discuss all manner of stuff related to video game music and whatever our next episodes are going to be. We also have a WaveBack forum page on Facebook, which you can find by searching WaveBack on Facebook. Of course, you can always still email us at mail@geekade.com, and while you're at it, check out all our social media channels, which you should totally follow, like, and subscribe to if you haven't already. And be sure to check out all the other great content we have on our site over at geekade.com. Matt, you got anything to plug?
Twitch's longest D&D one-shot is still going strong. We just had a monumental event in which a demon that was imprisoned in a crystal that was embedded inside of a character's chest has been freed, re-imprisoned, and we are all safe from its plague-like curse. And now we are free to move on with our main objective, which is to stop an evil warlord from rising up, an army of undead, and blanketing the land with death, destruction, and darkness. So, you can tune in to the Geekade Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/Geekade every other Saturday, and you can watch myself and Matt Much, along with a few of our friends, as we do things poorly. And also keep an eye out. One second. Also keep an eye out. I'm still attempting to figure out the logistics of bringing back Stream Your Own Adventure. So just keep an ear out.
Okie dokie. I'll also throw out there that I just posted, as the time this goes up, it'll just finished all the episodes or tracks or whatever you want to call it. But WaveBack Overplay, I mashed up Metroid Zero Mission and Metroid for NES, and it sounds awesome.
Yes, I've listened to, I think, 2 or 3 of them very quickly. They sound great.
Very cool. Thank you for listening. And everybody else, give it a listen too. It's not that long, and trust me, it's worth your time. It's a really cool mashup. So that's all we got tonight. We're gonna leave you again with the credits music. It's an adorable little tune, and that's really all you need to know about it. It's Lemmings. Yeah. On behalf of Matt and myself, have a good night.